And by the way, where were they going right now? They had their tight alliance. Joe Biden led a tight alliance. Were they even talking to the Russians? Were they even bringing an end to the violence? Was it even an attempt? No, they weren't worthy of a conversation. Trump came in and is engaged, and he acts like the other way was the right way. If they did not slow walk weapons, we might not still be in a war right now. Ukraine could have won right off. Let's bring in Stephen Moore. Stephen Moore is the former chief of staff of the U.S. House Representative, founder of the Ukrainian Freedom Project, and raises money to help the Ukrainians withstand this barrage of drone strikes that's destroying their energy sector. Stephen, welcome back.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
So, tell me the state of the war from your perspective.
Well, I was in Kyiv about 10 days ago. I live in Kyiv, and it's cold there, man. And although
do you have heat?
No, actually, most people don't have heat in Kyiv and in Ukraine. And the Russians are bombing the facilities that produce steam that's piped through all the apartment buildings. This is an old Soviet era thing that they did in Ukraine back in the day, and that's the main source of heat. And the Russians are bombing them. And even those of us that have intermittent electricity, my wall unit pipes in air from the outside and heats it, and then heats my apartment. But at 20 degrees, the air is too cold for my wall unit to heat it. So, and you only have 3 or 4 hours of electricity a day, and you don't know when it's coming. And so when that happens, you got to cook, you got to wash your clothes, you got to crank up the heat to try to heat your apartment. It's not a nice place to live right now.
What about the fact that they were going to not hit the energy sector for a week? That didn't work.
Well, that's just nonsense because, it takes Putin a week to build the drones to, and set up the next attack. So it's always a week. So that was just some nonsense PR by Vladimir Putin, who, how if Putin's lying?
He's talking.
His lips are moving, yeah. And so it's just nonsense, man.
So they're in trilateral talks. They got a hostage exchange. We know that. I mean, prisoner exchange. We know that.
It's good to see.
And now it looks like Ukraine says one of the things they plan on doing is upping the casualty numbers from 35,000 in December. They think this year they're going to look to kill 50,000 Russians a month. You would think that would result in victory, but there's some saying that that's not going to be enough because he has no value in Russian life.
Well, look, our adversaries are Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea, and all the Islamic extremist movements. Those guys are all working together. What do they have in common? No value of human life. And the Russian strategy is just to push meat into the war machine. And, I have friends in Ukraine, like machine gunners at the front, who just had to stop because they got tired of killing people. They just, people just kept coming, and these human waves. And, and you just can't do it after a while.
So what is the spirit in the country now? I heard that Zelensky came out and said he expects this whole war to find the peace to come in June because the president needs it for the midterms. I don't know where he got that from because June's far from November.
Yeah.
So does he understand our system?
Yeah, it's hard to say where that comes from. I've heard that myself. I think that
believe me, he'd end it tomorrow if he could.
Yeah, this is like Israel. It's like if Israel lays down its arms, if Hamas lays down its arms, there's no more war. If Israel lays down their arms, there's no more Israel, right? And so it's the same with Ukraine. If Ukraine stops fighting, then the Russians are going to roll through, and it's going to be a grim place for everybody. But the morale in the country is pretty high, despite how cold it is. People are having parties in the streets.
So I'm hearing that the missile shield had promise of starting in the new year. Have you heard anything about a missile shield that you guys are working on with the U.S.?
Yeah, there's something called an ERAM, and this is a lower cost version of the Patriot that people are talking about getting over there and having it be the defense shield because
drones are it for Russia. I mean, that's the main thing with Russia, right?
Oh yeah, the Russians send 1,000 Iranian-made Shahed drones a night into Ukraine, and they use it to kill civilians, take out heating facilities. So these things are about $50,000 a pop. So if you use a $1.5 million Patriot missile to take it out, that's not a long game. And
it's not a smart way to do things.
Yeah.
So right now we're in a situation where the trilateral talks are going. The short pause in the war has stopped. So we're looking at, and we also find out, you said, and I agree with you, that if India legitimately does stop buying Russian oil, which is cheap, they get cheap Russian oil, and they had relations with Russia prior. Yeah. Why? As a hedge against China.
Yeah.
So when Russia and China were rivals, India was threatened constantly by China and their border skirmishes. They sided with Russia.
Yeah.
So, which we were fine with. You do your thing. That's your region. But when the war breaks out, they said, yeah, leave us out of this. Russia provides a lot of our arms, and now they're going to give us discount oil. And we were disappointed, but there was no pressure that Joe Biden didn't put any pressure on India to say, wait, we just, Modi, you're a buddy. You were just over here. 2 administrations looked at you as an enterprising partner. What happened? So Trump put pressure in a different way. They continue to buy oil. But that changes.
Yeah, that's 18% of Russia's revenue. And, we go back to those 50,000 people a month that are...
that's what they hope for.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I know it's sad to say, but that's what the Ukrainians hope to inflict on Russia.
Well, it's currently 35,000 a month, so it's a real number.
Which is amazing.
Now, think about this. Putin has gone in 4 years ago. Putin went into Ukraine, and he has taken only 20% of the country and lost 1.2 million soldiers, all right? So now think about that in terms of George W. Bush in 2003. If he'd gone into Iraq and in 2007 said people 4 years later that, we've taken 20% of the country and lost 1.2 million Americans, there's no one in the world who would think that's a win.
He wouldn't have continued.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't happen. So Putin has all the money in the world from his oil revenue, and he is paying these soldiers to go into Ukraine 4 times in cash what we pay an E1, an entry-level soldier in the United States. And, and it goes a lot farther in Russia because Russia's average monthly wage is about 20% of America's. So these people are getting paid a fortune. These poor people in the regions are getting paid a fortune to go into Ukraine,
right?
And die on the sword.
A lot of them aren't going to survive.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw last week, Finland knew we were starting these trilateral talks, and they made a statement in that I don't want to hear the U.S. say Rule 5, NATO Rule 5, like deterrence or defense. Because Finland feels, I don't want to go to war against Russia because of what we promised Ukraine, who's not a NATO member. I thought, wow, that's a convoluted way for a brand new NATO nation to respond to that. Well, we are. The UK and France said we will put troops in there.
Oh, that's interesting.
As a tripwire.
Yeah, I had not seen that. But, here's one. I was in Finland about 3 months ago, and they were really excited to be part of NATO. And they don't say if the Russians attack, they say when the Russians attack. So I'm kind of surprised to hear they said that because the Finns were all on it when I was there. But here's the attitude of the frontline nations like Poland and the Baltic states and Finland and the other ones that are very close to Russia. They need help from behind because they're going to keep all their troops in their countries. They're not going to send any to Ukraine because if Ukraine falls, they need those troops. So the troops that are going to come stabilize Ukraine need to be from France, from Germany, from the UK, and places that don't have an immediate threat from Russia.
Steve Moore's here, and Steve Moore's got a great title in Ukraine. He's trying to help him out the best way he can. He is the Ukrainian Freedom Project founder, which raises money for Ukraine aid. So we understand that Starlink is playing a role, and it's helping the Russians inadvertently. Now, Russian mill bloggers who evidently have a habit of telling the truth over there,
it's kind of weird,
continue to claim that SpaceX's recent block of unregistered Starlink terminals in Ukraine is hindering Russian combat operations in Ukraine. Have you heard this?
Yeah, that's something that's all over. People are talking about. That is an amazing thing because the Ukrainians use Starlinks. I've bought several Starlinks for folks near the front because.
What does it give you?
Well, it gives you connectivity. All this stuff, we are in a connected war, and all these drones, everything else, all this, all the communications.
More than any other time. Drones.
Oh yeah. Here's something that a lot of people don't know is right now, the Ukrainians, 70% of the weapons they're fighting with are weapons they've made because the Ukrainian defense tech is just out of this world. These guys are all good at math. All these guys in Ukraine are better at math than you and me. They're engineers, and they've built this stuff that is just really taking out the Russians, and it's better than the stuff we build here. So and it all is connected, and it all is, connected on Starlinks, and the game is, can you jam the other guy's connected weapons? And right now the Ukrainians are winning that, and Starlink, Elon Musk is helping out.
Right, and for a while, first he was all Ukraine, then he was kind of indifferent. Now it's pretty clear where he stands, and I think that could be the benefit. I just hope we find a way. This is the way I think, Steve, the way to end it quicker is what Biden should have done right away. What do you need? Get it to you right away. Everything that they've asked for under Joe Biden, they eventually got. But they got it so late, it was almost inefficient. Oh, we're going to give you F-16s, but first we got to train you for a year.
Yeah.
And then they never came. Trump had to deliver the F-15s or F-16s.
Yeah.
So now if you get them Patriots, we're not going to get you Patriots. You don't really have Patriots. Okay, you got Patriots. You have HIMARS. You can't really get you HIMARS. You got HIMARS.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We got ATACMS. Not enough, but they got ATACMS. Okay, you got them. But if they ever just gave it to them when they had it, and, Ukraine could have done better tactically and maybe listened to us, in my humble opinion, from what I understand, which you would know better. Tactically, I think we had a better plan. They did their own plan, and their surge did not work 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that's all, again, predicated on having the weapons they need at the time they needed them. And that surge that they did, if you look at some of the NATO commanders, they say, you want to have number superiority, artillery superiority, you want to have air superiority, and the Ukrainians had none of them, yet the Biden administration pressured them.
Without a navy, they were destroying the Russian navy.
Yes.
Without any help from NATO, they reopened the waterways to allow them to deliver their grain.
Yeah.
This is underappreciated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Ukrainians, again, as you point out, they've got like 6 ships or something, and with their missiles, they have taken out a third of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Yeah, exactly. Their missiles and their drones, and and we need. Here's what's happened: is that we have put billions and billions of dollars into Ukraine to build their army. Ukraine now has 900,000 people in their army. It's by far the largest, most powerful in Europe.
Yeah, the second biggest army in the region after Russia.
Yeah, exactly.
So think about this, America. You say, well, it's not our war. Well, think about it. Do you want the second biggest army to join the biggest army? And who do you think is going to stop that army if they combine and to try to take Western Europe? It's going to be us again.
Yeah. It just doesn't get better from here, but again, our defense tech is kind of like made in the desert here, and it's not as good as the stuff that the Ukrainians are making. They got $500 kamikaze drones. Our cheapest kamikaze drone is $100,000.
No way.
Yeah, this is true, man.
So are we beginning to combine technologically? Because I was in Germany on a military base in Wiesbaden, and they had Ukrainians there, and they had tech guys who weren't in the military working with our military on this stuff. Do you see a cohesion there?
Yeah. Well,
not enough?
Not enough. And there needs to be like an organized method.
Because we need their drones.
Oh, yeah.
I hate
totally.
to tell you.
Oh, yeah. We need their drone defense. We are not prepared for a drone
Absolutely
war.
Not.
And
they had to be.
Yeah, they figured it out. They lost a lot of people to figure it out, and they have, and their stuff's working, and our stuff doesn't. We send our stuff over there; it doesn't work.
The assassination of the lieutenant general, who he was in the hospital, but he isn't dead, sadly.
Yeah.
In Moscow, that freaks them out.
Yeah, that's great. The Ukrainians have showed this Mossad-like ability to get inside Russia and to do these espionage things. And you may remember Operation Spiderweb. They took 117 of these $500 kamikaze drones. They smuggled them into Russia and destroyed $7 billion worth of aircraft inside Russia. They've whacked this general, almost whacked this general, and this guy is a really bad guy. He's the guy that was responsible for poisonings in Europe. He's the guy that was responsible for the torture of POWs, of Ukrainian POWs. And this guy's on his back in a Moscow hospital, and hopefully that he's not going to get up anytime soon.
Absolutely. Stephen, if people want to support you and your cause.
Yeah, UkraineFreedomProject.org, UkraineFreedomProject.org.
Where's the money go?
Listen, we're doing, so we're getting generators for people. It's cold there. We're getting, non-lethal equipment for the military, Starlink, stuff like that. And here's the other thing. We're telling the stories. We also have a movie. I told you about this. Faith Under Siege tells the story of Ukrainian Christians who have been tortured by the Russians and have just overcome through faith. And faithundersiege.com. Go check that one out.
So for people who say Vladimir Zelensky is shutting down the churches, the Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine, maybe you should sober people up and tell them why he would do that.
Well, the Russian Orthodox Church is a working arm of the Kremlin, and there's branches of the Russian Orthodox Church here in America. Rokor is one of them, and they report to Kirill, the Patriarch. Kirill has declared a holy war on the Ukraine and the West.
He is the religious advisor to Vladimir Putin, the soulless leader of Russia.
Yeah. And he has said if you die fighting in Ukraine, all your sins will be washed away. Now, he stopped short of offering 72 virgins, but it's the same thing that the Islamic extremists are doing.
Yeah, it's hard to hit that 72 threshold. So you don't want to overpromise, and you don't get repeat buyers.
Yeah.
Stephen Moore, thanks for all you're doing.
Great to be with you, man. Thanks for getting the story out.
Absolutely. Back in a moment.